The year is 2006. Italy has just won the World Cup in Germany after beating France on penalties. The stage embraces the winners. Cannavaro lifts the golden trophy and the stadium erupts. As confetti painted the night sky with white stripes of victory, some 1,200 kilometers away in Rome, jubilant fans took to the streets, celebrating and singing the night away. But instead of traditional Italian football chants, they are singing something a bit different. The melody you just heard is from a song called Seven Nation Army from the American rock band The White Stripes. The whole thing is a bit baffling. First of all, the song at the time wasn't all that popular. In fact, it wasn't even in the top 100 list for the country. It did, however, enter the Italian charts a few weeks after the World Cup final, which honestly should tell you everything you need to know about the power of football. Today, the song has graced football stadiums around the world. For example, you would have heard the melody if you were in Manchester watching a City game here.
City goal, the number 17, oh, Kevin De Bruyne.
Or if you decided to join the Mexican fans here. Or if you had visited the other end of the world to catch a game. By now, there's no denying that Seven Nation Army has become a global phenomenon in the world of football. But how did a garage rock riff from Detroit become a universal soundtrack for fans across the world? What's the psychology behind football fans embracing chants in general, and why, to this day, does the song still resonate with so many? The answer lies in the unexpected magic of football chants, where familiar melody, football fandom, and a bit of luck can turn a sound into an anthem. This is Football Explained. At first glance, Seven Nation Army had no business becoming a football anthem. It wasn't created for stadiums, had no connection to the sport. In fact, the song's unusual structure is the reason why it shouldn't have worked. But that's exactly why it did.
I'm an academic at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. I specialise in music psychology, so I'm interested in how the mind processes music and how we react to it emotionally and cognitively. So rhythmically, that song is unusual because the metric structure changes. So that's uncommon in popular music.
The song's unique structure made it stand out amongst football chants at the time. But there's more to it than that. Repetition and loopable structure are essential for a great football chant, as seen in Ole, 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 or Dale Cavese. The melody must be simple enough for thousands to chant in sync, building energy as the match progresses.
Yeah, I was mentioning when the Saints go marching, that's got da-da-da-dum. Right, that stays rock solid all the way through, okay? But this one, the riff is dum 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 dum. Okay, so what you have is you have a 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? So when we change the meter from duplet for 2 pulses, isn't quite accurate, but to try and convey the idea, 2 pulses per beat to exactly equally spaced 3 pulses per beat. It's an unusual thing. It's got a special name. It's called a hemiola. When you contrast a one metric structure against another one immediately, and it can be a very, very catchy effect.
There even have been studies done to compare the melodic formula of Seven Nation Army to Swedish children's play songs, highlighting structural similarities that make it easy to recognise and adopt in social settings, much like a school rhyme. Another key factor was the absence of lyrics in the riff. Without words, there were no language barriers, making the melody universally accessible. Fans could adapt it to any context, ensuring its seamless integration into stadium culture. What made Seven Nation Army unique was how effortlessly it met all of those criteria without being designed for it. Its recognisable riff naturally built anticipation and excitement, making it irresistible to fans worldwide. But before we understand how Seven Nation Army became a chant, we need to understand how chants work in the first place. Historically, in Britain, Victorian-style community hymn singing was common before sporting events, usually led by a conductor. In Italy, clubs had official hymns composed by prominent artists, while some, like Real Madrid, had official songs as early as 1903. Belting out your lungs together with thousands of others before a match became a tradition. It was almost like a call to war. In fact, some of the earliest chants were likely inspired by tribal or military songs.
Warlike activity is actually, it is related actually. One of the functions that music has psychologically is that creates movements, both auditory movement, speech, singing, and physical movement in terms of dance or marching in unison or in synchrony with other people. And as a result, it creates a sense of unification, a sense of togetherness with that group of people who are moving.
Post-war travel and international football competitions in the 1950s and 1960s introduced British fans to Mediterranean and South American drumming and chanting. Many chants during this period started as simple, rhythmic claps and phrases, eventually evolving into elaborate stadium anthems.
We prefer to think in terms of things that we know that are easy to process mentally. There's nothing about people who are dumb, people who are smart. We all prefer to do that. So that could mean working with something that's familiar, working with something that's pleasant to look at or to say. Like rhymes are a really good example. It's more pleasant to listen to and to say a rhyme. It's more memorable. All this is to do with cognitive or processing fluency. Okay, this is all to do with how the mind processes information.
As technology progressed, football fans got their music fix through radio and television. Whether it was Beatlemania or the rise of pop music, mainstream songs began making their way into football stadiums by the mid-20th century. Take You'll Never Walk Alone, for example. Originally a show tune from the musical, its cover by Jerry and the Pacemakers, a band from Liverpool, became a hit. Before long, fans at Anfield were singing it before matches, and it became an inseparable part of the club's identity. By the turn of the century, a song's popularity mattered, whether it was an old hymn, a pop hit, or a tune heard on the terraces. But sometimes songs don't need to be chart toppers to find their way into football culture. Seven Nation Army wasn't a major hit in Italy when it first picked up, yet it spread across stadiums in a way few songs ever have. So how did a garage rock riff from Detroit end up in Milan, then Bruges, and finally the entire footballing world? Picture this. It's October 2003. A Champions League group stage match between AC Milan and Club Bruges is on the horizon. As is tradition for away games, Bruges supporters gather in a Milan bar, drinks in hand, hyping themselves up for the clash against the big boys. A song plays over the pub stereo. It's not a chart-topping hit, and it's certainly not a song many in Belgium would have recognised at the time. Released in March of that year, Seven Nation Army had already passed its peak in the commercial music world, and yet somehow, that evening, it caught the attention of the Bruges supporters. The details are hazy, as they often are for travelling fans, but legend has it that they kept chanting the melody through the streets of Milan, from the pub and onto the San Siro. And when, in the 33rd minute, Bruges' Peruvian striker Andre Mendoza scored the game's only goal, the chant erupted at full volume. The winners carried the song back to Belgium, where it became a staple at home games, blasted through the stadium speakers after every goal. Fast forward 3 years, and this is where things take an unexpected turn. In February 2006, Bruges hosted AS Roma in a UEFA Cup match. Helped by a red card, the stadium was electric, and the chant was deafening. But Roma wasn't done. They staged a comeback, winning the game 2-1, and their travelling fans decided to return the favour. They took Bruges' chant and used it to mock them. The Roma fans were so assertive with their newly learned chant that even their captain, Francesco Totti, took notice. He later told a Dutch newspaper, "I had never heard the song before we stepped on the field in Bruges. Since then, I can't get the song out of my head. It sounded fantastic, and the crowd was immediately totally into it. I quickly went out and bought one of the band's albums. Euphoric, Roma fans continued the chant through the night and carried it back home to Italy. Over the rest of the season, it spread like wildfire, with many Serie A clubs adapting it for their own players and teams. As the Italian national team prepared for the 2006 World Cup, the song brought fans together across the country, uniting them as they carried the chant to Germany for the tournament. By the end of the World Cup, Seven Nation Army had become Italy's unofficial anthem. By Euro 2008, it was a walk-on song for teams. By Euro 2012, it was played after every goal. And today, it's impossible to ignore the song in the world of sports, let alone football stadiums.
Their first turnover of the fourth quarter. See right now, they're just playing a little zone, playing.
Where something becomes so universally embraced that it feels inseparable from the sport itself. The song didn't follow a pre-planned path. It wasn't designed for the stadiums, nor was it pushed into the sport by marketing giants. Instead, it resonated with fans on a fundamental level. It's a testament to what football is all about. That no matter what fans want must come first. You can spend millions on billboards and campaigns to unite people, but sometimes all you need are just 7 notes.
I think of that every time I hear that Seven Nation Army on a sports broadcast or something on TV. It has the same feeling that it's not mine anymore. I mean, it becomes folk music when things like that happen. It becomes something that the more people don't know where it came from, the happier I am. You know, the more it just becomes ubiquitous. And I'm sure many people are chanting the melody, have no idea what the song is or where it came from or why or whatever. It doesn't matter anymore, and that's just amazing.
Right, and do you